So I'm going to return to the topic of interracial dating. And obviously, I've covered this topic so many times in previous videos. So, to the people out there who are saying that, the white population is declining, there's a white genocide, we're becoming extinct. Well, why are there millions of white men that's currently living in Asia and Latin America then? Right? So other people who are against this interracial dating, this snow bunny or a mud sharks crisis. But the reality is that if you look at the entire global picture, there are way more white men that's entering interracial relationships and marriages, and the vast majority of the time they're going to Asia, usually Southeast Asia, or they're going to Latin America. It can be described as passport bros, or really, they're just foreign, not expats. You have to add an S in the front. They're just foreign sexpats. So yeah, why are these white men doing this, right? If white women are so silky smooth and beautiful, why are they going for Asian Latin women? It's actually very, very simple. Here's why. It is cheaper. Yes, not just to date Asian or Latin women. The cost of living in these countries is 10 times cheaper compared to any Western country. Let's face it, we're all getting destroyed by inflation. I'll give you guys one example. This is so obvious since my last trip to China. So imagine this. Let's say if you go to China, right? So let's say if you're average American guy, remember, $1 is equal to 7.3, what is CNY? So CNY is the Chinese yuan. That's yuan. That's how China calls their currency. So, and yeah, a lot of people are saying are Asian women more traditional. Let's cut through all of the bull crap. If you actually want the dictionary definition of a traditional woman, well, a traditional woman is a virgin on her wedding day. I don't think the vast majority of these white men who are going overseas, yes, to some degrees, also Hispanic men and also black men, but I would say yes, most of them are white men. They're not exactly looking for a traditional woman. And also many of them, they're getting crushed by inflation. Imagine this if you can actually find a remote job, the one that where you never ever has to go to your workplace physically. All you need is a laptop, and all you need is an email address. All you need is to attend a couple of Zoom meetings a week, and you can just get everything done on your own time. Then I would say absolutely. I think that should be your number one priority, is to get the hell out of these Western countries. So imagine if you as a young couple, right, part of the massive reason why the white population is declining. As a matter of fact, if you look at the fertility rates in America, I believe for every single ethnic group, including the whites, the blacks, the Asians, the Indians, even the Hispanics, they're all below the replacement level now. Because let's face it, let's say if you're a young couple, you're shacking up, you're living together, let's say even with both of your income combined, let's say if all you can afford is a 200 square feet studio apartment, then I think having children is going to be the last thing that's on your mind. Your apartment is so small, it can barely fit the two of you, or like where are you going to put the baby? Yeah, we're all getting absolutely destroyed by the cost of living. The number one issue is this, and I think the Western governments can actually fix this, but at this point, I just don't think they actually care. This is the number one issue for young people. I don't care what the older generation says, and they always saying that, young people are the problem, we're so lazy, we're also unmotivated. Well, here's the brutal reality. You guys want to know why there's no house parties anymore in 2025? Well, it's very simple. Who the hell can afford to buy a house anymore? We're all living these tiny, 150 feet, 200 feet studio apartments. How can we have a big house party? So when I first arrived in Canada over 20 years ago, there was just an average normal white couple that lived next door to me. And so both of them, they worked at a printing factory, by the way, and they never went to college or university. They don't have any degree. They don't have any certification. They don't have any special piece of paper, just doing manual labor at a very, very small printing factory. And they said that at the printing factory they worked at, there's only 6 of them. And because there's only 6 of them, it was a straight day shift. So typically they worked from 7 to 3:30. No afternoon shifts, no weekends, no overtime. So yeah, they just worked 40 hours a week. Now, of course, they still took 2 incomes. By the way, they're living in this very, very nice and big house. So I would say in 2025, it's probably, I'm just estimating, by the way, I would say the house is probably worth 750,000 Canadian. If you convert this to USD, it's maybe, I would say, 580. Yeah, close to $600,000 USD. But here's the thing, that's 2025 prices. So they're around the same age as my parents. They're probably in their 60s by now. So they probably bought that house back when they were, in their early 20s, in the 1980s. Now, if you guys want to ask for my honest opinion, I would say they probably bought their house for around $30,000 if they actually bought it in the 1980s. Now let's imagine this, 30 grand. So Canada used to allow a 5% down payment, 5%. What is 5% of 30 grand? Yeah, that was their down payment, $1,500. Yeah, no more, no less. Obviously, back in the day, they were making less. But it doesn't matter how much you factor in, the wages, the inflation, and how much things have changed over the past 30, 40, 50 years. The reality is that the vast majority of young people, they will never, ever be able to afford to buy a home in the future. I'm not talking about just now. I'm talking about 10, 20, 30, 40 years down the road. That's why I said having family is so important. Unless you can get help from a family member, there's no hope for you. Let me pull up this picture. It's not just the housing crisis. This is just a tiny little mama and papa restaurant. So this is from when I was living in the Chinese city of Chengdu. By the way, if you live in the, let's say, downtown core, obviously things are going to cost a lot more. So I lived on the outskirts of the city because things were so much cheaper. And also now this is the issue. For example, cities like New York or Los Angeles or Toronto or Vancouver have gotten so expensive. And so many people started to migrate to outside of the city. So many people are buying these homes in the suburbs. Now the suburbs are also becoming extremely expensive. But at least in China, if you live in the suburbs of a mega city, things are still extremely cheap. Just look at this tiny little menu. So the first item is a beef noodle. So you see 10, 11, 12. So 12 yuan, you can get a large bowl of beef noodles with 4 slices of beef. And the second item, that is a vegetarian option of the noodle. So this is a black bean noodle. So you can get a large bowl for 10 yuan. Keep in mind, right? So $1 is 7.3 Chinese yuan. So let's say if you want a large bowl of a black bean noodle, that is 10 yuan, right? Converted to US dollars. Yeah, you can get a nice little lunch in China for $1.37 USD. And underneath it, you see the option for the wonton. So 8, 9, once again, a 10 yuan, $1.37 US for a large bowl. And so this is what I mean. This is why so many white men are leaving, because things in the West have gotten so expensive. And if you can find a remote job, the US dollar, the Canadian dollar, the euro, the pound, the Australian dollar, it can take you so much further in these countries. Because just surviving is becoming almost impossible for young people in the West. And it's not just that. If you're wondering how much is housing in the suburbs of Chengdu, I rented a 2 bedrooms, 1 living room, 1 bathroom apartment. By the way, all inclusive. So obviously you have on-site laundry, and so internet, so heat, electricity, hydro water, everything's included. So the rent was 1,000 yuan a month. Yes, 1,000 yuan a month. $137 USD per month for a 2 bedroom and a 650 square feet apartment. Once again, you can't get that price in downtown, but I was living in the outskirts, in the suburbs. And this, once again, this is a massive city. This is a mega city of 22 million people. So yes, you can probably survive in that city for as little as $500 US dollars per month. Could be less, maybe even $400 is enough. That's all you need. If you guys are wondering how much is the cost, let's say for a man's haircut, well, it's 10 yuan. Yes, 10 yuan. So $1.37 for a haircut. That's all you need. No more, no less. Yes, the number one reason why, there's a massive decline in the white population and why so many white men are leaving, it's not because of, Asian women or Latin women. It's not because they're more traditional. It's not because they're more feminine. It's not even necessarily because of, all of this woke feminism that's going on in the West. Number one reason they're leaving is because, once again, it's cheaper. Imagine you as a regular, let's say a 5'9" white dude that's living in America that's making $50,000 a year. In New York City or LA, you're nothing. I mean, $50,000 a year in New York City, you're living on the poverty line. Imagine if you move to Hanoi, or if you move to Manila, or if you move to Bangkok. Well, 50,000 US dollars a year in Bangkok, you will be the king of Thailand. So that's why so many men are leaving. unless the Western countries they can sort out the current housing crisis, and unless they can get the cost of living under control for young people, and I think very soon you'll see a mass exodus of young people, because there's simply no way for people to survive in the West anymore. I will definitely be coming back to this topic. Thank you guys so much for watching, and stay all the way until the end, and I will see you guys next video.